All righty, everybody. Welcome to Talking Real Estate with Champions Real Estate Team at Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Ambassador Real Estate Company. My name is Mark Wayner, the team leader of Champions Real Estate Team. And then we have Rich Howdle, who's joining us, who's also on the Champions Real Estate Team. So we are going to kind of talk about what's going on in the market over the last week. We came off of the 4th of July, so that weekend was a little bit slower, just with all the holiday things going on. Coming on to this week, we have a little more activity coming into it. So I'll pull up let me share our little screen here. Where we got it. There we go. There we go. All righty. So as we see here, we got going 486 new listings. Basically, those are the ones that just came on the market this last week. We have about 426 new contracts for homes that went pending, and we had 551 homes that closed this last week. So last week we had over 680 sold homes, so down a little bit. So that's basically kind of what's indicative of what the market's doing about 45, 60 days ago. Our new contracts written were up from last week. Basically coming off the 4th of July wasn't as active. So we had about 350 last week. We have, 426 this week, and new listings up a little bit more, as we came off the holiday week and everyone got their houses ready. So we do actually have one new listing on Champions Real Estate Team at 18069 Mayberry Street that just came on last weekend. It's a great ranch in Pacific Ridge, listed at 435. Just over 3,700 square feet. So we can take a little closer look at that. We also had another listing coactive. That one sold in basically in hours, was under contract on Friday night. So we'll take a look at what's going on there. Interest rates, what we're seeing, typically we have Russ Williams with Arbor Bank on with us for the interest rates. So interest rates last week, basically we're back to our historic lows, about 3%. Give or take. I had a client today that just got quoted at 2.75 on a 30-year fixed rate. So I mean, those are great rates out there with the the market being a seller's market and people seeing prices go up a little bit. Your purchasing power is still awesome out there to get into a home, from that perspective, from an interest rate standpoint of it. So we're looking very, very good on the interest rate side. Market is still very active, both buyers and sellers. So active homes that we have on the market right now, we have about 2,290 when I looked at about 1130, 1145. So that's a little down, about 200 from last week. So basically those homes that were out there just after the 4th of July basically kind of got gobbled up out there. So existing homes were sitting in that 2,200. So in the existing homes, there's 1,400 homes in the existing market. And then new construction is about 850. So, that's still pretty low from where we were at. I think we're still down about 30% of active listings from what we had last year at this time. As we go into, depending on what the school is starting up, you kind of maybe see a little bit of a slowdown coming into, historically, but I still think just with that low inventory, buyers are still ready to go. And when something pops up, buyers are jumping on it. So as we go through here, we'll kind of talk on next. We have next week, next Thursday, we have our renting versus buying. What is it truly costing you kind of seminar on Thursday night, which would be the 23rd at 7 o'clock, basically on the same kind of channel, basically on our Facebook Champions page. And then you can jump onto us with Zoom as well. So if you have any questions about that, give us a holler. We kind of touched on it 2 weeks ago, just kind of some of the numbers, but we figure we kind of devote an entire segment to renting versus buying and what is it truly costing you? With interest rates being so low, your purchasing power is there. Your mortgage payment can be obviously significantly lower than what your rent is, and saving that difference. And even if you're investing that difference, and you're buying a house with, potential appreciation of that real estate over time, what is that costing you staying in a rental home, and things of that sort. Ultimately you have your maintenance and stuff like that we'll kind of touch on. But I think that's going to be a great little segment to check out as we go through here in the, real estate market going forward. So and let's see here. So now we will kind of touch on, I know we don't have a special guest this week, but we will, one thing I want to touch on is basically in our buyers packet, we have a home buyers evaluation checklist. That's something that we kind of created that, you know, when you're buying a home, if you haven't bought a home in a long time, or if you've obviously first time home buyers, you don't know what you don't know. And that's something that I take a look at is our home buyer evaluation checklist that we kind of created. It's basically everything you need to know kind of when you're buying a house. You know, it's not a replacement for a home inspection. Ultimately, we always recommend getting a home inspection, having somebody take a closer look. But these are some of those things you might not think about. So I'll kind of touch on, you know, one or two of them here today, you know, just kind of keep it short and sweet to the point. I know I teach real estate continuing education classes, and basically we have a 3-hour class just on this basically document. You know, it's a 2-page checklist. So I can talk about it for 3 hours, but I don't think we want to sit here for 3 hours and listen to me talk about evaluating a property. But a couple of things on here. This is also in our home buyers guide that you can get on our championsrealestateteam.com website. You can click on it, download it for free. So you can have it at your hands, your fingertips through there. So first one as we kind of look here is the physical and environmental aspects of the property. So first things first is securing a seller's property condition disclosure statement. So in the state of Nebraska, it's law that anyone that's selling a primary residence or they have knowledge of the property to basically fill out a 4-page seller property condition disclosure statement. So I'll show you one of those here, so you're kind of more familiar with what we're kind of referring to. So if you've bought or sold a home, you're going to probably be familiar with it. Where's it at here on my? Sorry, got one too many windows open up here for me. All right. So here's the seller property condition disclosure statement. So by law, before you enter into a purchase agreement, the buyer has to receive a copy of this and actually receipt it that they actually did receive it. So receipt and receive. So as we take a look here, basically kind of goes down through how long has that seller owned the property? Have they occupied the property? Have they never occupied the property? So those are some things you kind of want to know, you know, was it in the family for 30 years, you know, or is it somebody that just bought it? And what you see is sometimes when people are buying and they're rehabbing homes or flipping homes, they'll basically fill one of these out. They'll say they never occupied it. And as you go down through here, basically they'll say they do not know on everything. So that's obviously one of those things that they probably don't know a lot about the house if they're just bought it, rehabbing it, you know, and turning around and selling it, which is great. But it's also, that's why we kind of recommend doing a home inspection. So basically it kind of goes through each one of these things here, you know, refrigerator, clothes dryer, washer, dryer, working, not working. So that way you know what you're getting into when you're buying a home. So on the flip side, when I have a seller that's working, that's going to be filling one of these out to like, well, do we fill this out? Do we put this on there? Should we disclose this? I kind of jokingly say you need to disclose, ultimately you have to disclose everything that you know about the house. Let that buyer make an informed decision. Some sellers are like, well, if I fill out things on here, you know, that may turn buyers away. Well, you want a buyer you're going to want to be upfront with them. And ultimately, I tell my clients, the more that this is filled out from a buyers or sellers, typically the smoother that transaction is going to be, because there's nothing being hidden, you know, behind the curtain or anything. So and the other thing I kind of joke about is that if you don't disclose it as a seller, your neighbor probably will. You know, your neighbor's always one of those people that just want to be helpful to the new neighbor, and they're out there talking to the new neighbor, introducing themselves, and, oh, hey, did the sellers tell you about all that water they had in the basement or this or that? And then all of a sudden, well, that wasn't under the disclosure, but, you know, the neighbors know about it because the seller was out there talking about it, you know, what happened to them, you know, during the big rainstorm or whatever. So those are things, you know, as a seller, fill this thing out to the best of your knowledge, put everything you know about the house, you know, the more the better, I say. And from a buyer's perspective, the more you know about the house, the more of an educated decision you can make on it. So just kind of a couple things. So this is basically a lot of the things going on in the house moving through here. So ultimately the seller and buyer got to initial each page. You always want to make sure you put the property address on here because you don't want it to get shuffled in paperwork and all of a sudden you're looking at a different disclosure than what's actually with the house. Couple of points of interest here on part 2, section A. Anytime a seller will basically check yes on any of these boxes, on the last page, they have to write a, you know, what happened and what they remedied the problem. So does the roof leak? Yes. Okay. You know, has the roof leaked? Yes. You know, we had a hailstorm, leaked, was replaced, you know, insurance claim, things of that sort. So anything that you have on there, put it on there. Water intrusion in the basement. If you know about it, put it down, let that buyer make an informed decision. So this is something that on that home buyer evaluation checklist, this is kind of the first things first to know exactly what you're getting into when you're buying a house. You know, it's kind of that old buyer beware, you know, and sellers making sure. So if a seller fails to disclose something and they knew about it, ultimately you can go back against them if there was some kind of damages or things of that sort. But ultimately you have to have proof. You know, there's been, you know, agents that have taken my CE classes and stuff like that, you know, times where there's been water in the basement and they called Jerry's waterproofing. Oh, we were at that house 2 months ago and we told them this needed to be done. Well, if they didn't do it, they knew about it. Ultimately, you can go back against with that seller and try to remedy the issues you go through. So, you know, I could go into this document, you know, for another hour or so on each individual thing, but just kind of want to make you familiar with it when you're looking to buy a house and even selling a house. You know, fill it out to the best of your knowledge of everything that you know about the house. And so on this last page is a blank paragraph. This is where you put part 2, section A, number 5. Was there water intrusion in the basement? Yep, heavy rainstorm. Notice that the downspout fell off. Water came along the foundation, seeped into the house. You know, fixed the, you know, the downspout. Haven't had any issues since. So you just want to make sure that those things are taken care of throughout that process. So I will check out. So if on that, so if you have any questions on the home buyer's evaluation checklist, I'll show you where you can get that. Get a copy for yourself. So basically out here on our website, championsrealestateteam.com, you can kind of scroll. Obviously, you can search all the new listings, look up what your home's worth, all that kind of fun stuff, map searches, what your home's worth here. So when you click on this home buyer's guide, it'll take you to the Google Docs page of our home buyer's guide. So as you scroll down through here, kind of a little welcome letter from myself, table of contents, you know, kind of what to expect. So one of the first things as you kind of come down here is that property valuation checklist. So you can check it out. You know, we'll go over it more in depth on different videos and stuff like that, so you guys can get a good idea of what's going on. So that's something. If you want to check it out beforehand, you can go onto our website, championsrealestateteam.com on there, and then on our Champions Facebook page here. So this is probably where you're watching us live, and you can kind of take a look at. As Casey buddy from Vegas just messaged me. So anyways, our renting versus buying seminar, we have our event page set up there, so you can kind of RSVP on there if you'd like. But that will be on our Champions Real Estate Team Facebook page, just like we're doing now for our Talking Real Estate segment. So I'm trying to think anything else we need to cover here. So once again, market is doing very well. Just need to get few more houses out there on the inventory. So if you are thinking of buying or selling, give us a holler. If you're thinking of selling and you don't necessarily have a place to go, we can help you with that. When we write contracts, we can make it contingent upon that seller finding a suitable housing and an accepted contract within a certain time frame, be it 21 days, 30 days, you know, because most buyers are willing to wait for that house that they absolutely love. So that gives you an opportunity to go find that next house for you, you know, and without that kind of uneasiness of, well, if my house is going to sell, you know, fairly quickly, but I don't have a place to go, how do we remedy that? So that's something that we can kind of help you here at Champions Real Estate Team. So once again, appreciate you all jumping on and joining us. As always, if you have any questions, you can message us through the Champions Facebook page, jump on our website. We have a chat little icon down there. You can chat with us, but you can also reach out to us on phone or email. My phone number, 402-672-7670. But yeah, appreciate you guys joining us. I try and kind of keep it short and sweet over the lunch hour here for those that are joining us. Rich, thank you for joining us. Joe, thanks for joining us here on our Zoom call. And until next week, we will have Joel Ulrich with Valley Construction joining us next week. He does remodeling and some new construction, just kind of talking about what he's seeing in the marketplace from a new construction remodeling standpoint, and getting your houses ready to go if you're thinking about selling. So as always, appreciate your time and have a great rest of the week. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Mark.